Welcome everyone to this GBO interview. I'm joined today by Jens Tülsner. How is that? Tülsner. Sorry. I'm joined today by Jens.
For foreigners.
Yes, by Jens Tülsner, who is a CEO of Marine Medical Solutions, which is a maritime medicine provider, and he's a member of our Berlin chapter. So welcome, Jens, and I'm really glad to have you today here. So can we ask you who you are and what you do?
First of all, hi, Miguel. My pleasure to have this interview. Yeah, my name is Jens Tülsner. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I'm specialized in emergency medicine, intensive care and anesthesia. I've worked in Shoreside Hospital for roughly 20 years, finally as a medical director of a huge department for intensive care and emergency medicine. Then I had a move to the shipping industry, especially the cruise industry, where I had the position of a vice president, medical and public health for one of the biggest cruise companies and groups in Europe. And in 2017, I decided to build up an own business, which is named, as you already said, Marine Medical Solutions. And despite that, I'm a happy man, roughly 25 years married, still happy, 2 kids, lots of hobbies and nice friends. And I'm happy having joined GBO roughly 2 years ago.
So, well, that was one of my questions. So when did you join GBO and why? But as you said, almost 2 years ago. Why did you join GBO? What attracted you to join the club?
First off, I have to say that I'm a very curious person. Maybe by profession. We are always allowed as doctors to be curious. I've been approached by Peter Redwin at that time. And what made the GBO to me immediately attractive is at that current time, I just had founded my business. And you can imagine the move from, let's say, a doctor's life into a business life. That's quite a tough change. And so I expected to meet people there having much more insight in how to perform business, in meet people with, let's say, similar themes to manage, similar obstacles, similar chances and developments. So I thought, okay, might be that is an opportunity to learn a lot. And despite that, the initial philosophy of GBO, of having that club headlined more than just finding of new business partners, much more to development, a mood of business friendship, where you are organized in chapters, you go to know each other, you're going to trust each other, so you are always invited to learn from each other, indeed doing some business together if it happens. And the more as it becomes more and more an international club. So there are chapters, let's say in several countries yet, and you're always invited and have the chance to meet people there as well. And that made the club very attractive to me. And I have to state, even right now, all the activities are very much limited. And I think all of us experience that the fantastic opportunities of having virtual meetings do not cover and meet the options and the abilities a meeting in person has. But nevertheless, it remains, and some of the relationships have been built before are still very strong, very reliable, and going forward.
That's very interesting. I would like to know a bit more about medical care at sea. what makes it different from caring on shore, and what's your contribution to that area?
How to describe it best? I think the most important point is that as in any other remote areas, you are, as said, remote. So you are potentially far, far away from any medical facilities, which is not comparable to the shoreside situation. At least when we talk about, let's say, Western countries where most of us are organized, or what I got used to in my previous career. You do, when you are on board a ship, you are far away. And despite those, when we're talking about the cruise industry, on commercial ships, you don't have any medical staff on board. So there is no profound medical knowledge, and it is the captain or one of the nautical officers responsible to provide medical care at sea on the ship. These nautics do have a medical course during their studies. And then these people are forced to provide medical care up to an extent where time by time you even face life-threatening situations. And I think that is very understandable to everybody, that what challenge that is, either to the patient to survive and or to get better again in his health conditions, and the same to the medical care provider as the captain, who is not profound in that, who is not completely convinced about his knowledge and abilities to do. And so indeed, it is a challenge how to bring medical knowledge on board their ships to get sick crew members, to what extent ever, treated best at this particular moment. So the crew member gets healthy again or stays healthy, and or you bring him in the best possible condition to the next port where medical disembarkation might happen. And let's say that scenario applies as well to commercial shipping, as to yachting, as to offshore platforms. Indeed, those have sometimes some medical stuff on the platforms, but not as a rule necessarily. And that is exactly what we as Marine Medical Solutions jump in. So we provide, let's say, first step expertise, how to equip ships best, and we offer telemedical support. So via chat, via video, we get in contact with the ships, and we are a team of very experienced doctors and nurses. All of us have vast experience either in emergency medicine shoreside, as well as a vast experience in the shipping industry, as most of us, of our teams, have been ship's doctors and ship's nurses before. So the specialties and the particular requirements of that environment are well known to us. And so are the options are available on board to get people treated. Let's say that's in a nutshell what we offer. Indeed, that can easily be extended to a tremendously affected industry by the current situation that the cruise industry is. In former times, we have been involved very much in new build activities. So on cruise ships, you do have a medical facility and either doctors and nurses, but you know how it is with the medical facility, how to get, let's say, the design and architecture best to what are the workflow. What is the workflow? Very comparable. You never would make a doctor drafting an engine room or a yard. But let's face it, it's quite frequent that it's non-medics designing medical facilities on board a ship. In brackets, that's very similar to shoreside in hospitals. So finally, sorry.
No problem. I was going to ask about any anecdote that you can share about the strangest thing that happened, or the strangest situation that you had to take care of on a yacht or on a ship or whatever?
Let me give you an example. There had been a crew member on a bulk carrier, and that has fallen from a stair into the bulk cove, roughly 4 meters. He has been unconscious for a couple of time and has been found by his crewmates down there. He has difficulties to breathe. He slowly recovered with his consciousness, and he has some pain in the extremities. So in one of the ports, the ship called next, he was asked to be medically disembarked, but due to Corona restrictions right now, it was not allowed. So in a shoreside settlement, a fall of 4 meters, a period of unconsciousness and shortness of breath and pain would indeed lead to major medical examinations and investigations, for instance, in CT scan. None of this happened. So days after, we have been called, as he still has difficulties to breathe, and his arm gets more and more swollen and unable to be moved. That's, for instance, let's say a case we just currently face, where it has been our task to say, okay, how to treat that crew member on board and to arrange a medical disembarkation and further examination in one of the next ports. That might be an example. Indeed, we are faced time by time with suspected Corona cases on board vessels, are going to call the next port, how to behave in this and how to investigate, how to structure testing, disembarkation, isolation. All of those are cases we frequently face.
Okay. So
just to add 2 things. What we actually really contribute to the industry is that the shipping industry, meanwhile, is widely digitalized. So various functionalities and operations of the ships have digital tools to support operations, to track them, to get them organized. That is very, very rarely the case with the healthcare. So that's why we have built a strong collaboration with an American IT company, Triton Software. And so we have made a very strong collaboration, so we are able to offer our telemedical solutions via the digital platform and either have a transparent documentation and reporting about it. And last but not least, we made a collaboration with one of the biggest internationally working healthcare providers with about 900,000 collaboration with about 900,000 medical facilities worldwide, where due to that provider, we do have access for best care for our crew members, for shoreside referrals and or medical disembarkations in case such are needed.
Very interesting, Jens.
Very niche.
Yes. So thank you for this interview. It's been very nice to spend these minutes together and to have the opportunity to know a bit more about you and about what you do. So thank you very much.
I have to thank you, Miguel, and I'm full of hope that we meet once again in person.